Outer Wilds originally released in 2019 with the DLC Echoes of the Eye releasing in 2021. The Archaeologist Edition had a physical release on the PlayStation 5 in August of 2024, which is where I played it. This review will answer the question, is the physical copy of Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition worth buying? The answer, unfortunately, is no, because of one major reason. The physical copy of the game lacks the DLC Echoes of the Eye on the disc. Annapurna Interactive released a statement to customers acknowledging the issue. The disc version doesn't contain any of the updates or the DLC on the disc. This means that if you don't have an internet connection, you'll be getting an older version of the game. Worse, if you're expecting to play the DLC because you didn't the first time around, you're out of luck. This is a known issue, and you can email the publisher and they will send you a download code for the DLC, provided you show them proof of purchase. But if you're like me and you bought a used copy of the game, you won't have access to that. So right off the bat, this makes the Archaeologist Edition on PlayStation 5, the physical version, completely not worth getting. It invalidates the entire reason of getting a physical copy of the game with the DLC included, and that's the ability to play it offline and have everything on the disc. Games and DLC that are online carry the risk of disappearing. It may not happen anytime soon, but the risk is always there. If you wanted a physical copy of this amazing game with the DLC included for the first time ever, this doesn't have it. There's a chance that later manufacturing runs of the physical disc will include the DLC, but just be aware that if you're buying this, you won't have the DLC unless you actively reach out to the publisher and show them proof of your purchase. It sucks, and whoever is in charge of quality control over at Annapurna needs to get their act together. Although, based on all the news coming out of that publisher over the last few months, this is the least of the problems happening there. I played Outer Wilds when it was first released, and I was super pumped to check out the DLC, which I hadn't played before. But since that isn't an option, I'm going to have to review the base game on PlayStation 5, starting with the graphics and technicals. The game looks and runs good. Outer Wilds has a sort of cel-shaded, cartoony type of graphics that fits very well with what the developers are going for. It's both simple looking, but very complex, allowing the physics of the solar system to run seamlessly without the FPS bogging down. The game gives you a few graphical options to check out on the PlayStation 5, with the main being a 60 FPS 1440p performance mode and a 4K 30 FPS quality mode. I checked out both, and to be honest, the 4K didn't make too much of a difference. Take the higher FPS over the higher resolution. It makes flying the ship a bit easier. I do remember there being a few FPS dips in the original version when I played it on the Xbox One X, but those few problems have been ironed out here. The only time I ever had any FPS problems was when my ship transitioned from open space into the dark bramble, and that's because you're essentially teleporting into a new section of space rather than the existing solar system. It doesn't distract from the game at all. For technicals, I had no crashes or bugs, but I appreciate that the developers left some of the jankiness that was present in the original game. Things like jamming your ship into places you probably shouldn't be going to, getting stuck on objects when you're messing around trying to jump or boost your way through shortcuts. I wouldn't call these bugs so much as funny, unintentional jank that is a big part of the game. I like that I can jam my ship on a tree in order to get to a shortcut to a hard-to-reach point, or rocket through dark bramble at excessive speeds, passing through parts of the anglerfish that lack iframes. It's fun, and I would never want them to change it. Alright, let's talk about the story and the premise of Outer Wilds. For anyone who hasn't played this yet, you're in for a real treat. This is the type of game that I wish I could flip a switch and purge my memory so I could play it all over again. The premise is very simple, while the execution is intricate and complicated. It's like a puzzle with exploration and memory as two key components. You're stuck in a 22-minute time loop. When the game starts, you go through a tutorial on the starting planet where the game teaches you the mechanics you'll need to succeed by having you explore small areas of a town, playing hide and seek with the children and reading historical artifacts. As you're leaving the observatory, finally ready to explore the solar system, a strange statue opens up its eyes and stares at you. Then the sun explodes, over and over again. What's going on and why this is happening is up to you to figure out. I won't spoil the story or any of the lore, that's the entire reason to play this game. I will tell you that the lore buried in logs and around the solar system is incredible. But there is a major issue with the story and the entire game in general. It's a kind of one and done game. Once you learn the mysteries here and explore everything in the world, there isn't really a need to ever play this game again. Outer Wilds gives you all the tools you need to complete your exploration right from the start. You have a spaceship, a suit that keeps you safe in space and boosts to reach faraway locations, a listening device that can pinpoint broadcasts in the solar system, letting you chart your path or give you hints on where to go, and a portable camera called a Scout that you can fire into regions where you aren't quite sure if they're safe or not. Aside from these tools, there's nothing else in Outer Wilds that you're going to need. There isn't any upgrades or level requirements to access areas. You could, theoretically, beat the game the very first cycle if you remembered exactly what to do. But Outer Wilds isn't about beating the game or clearing it as fast as possible. It's about solving a mystery. It's about exploration. The game encourages you to visit every location, look under every nook and cranny for every scrap of information so that you can understand the people that came before you and what's happening in the solar system you inhabit, and eventually the entire universe. Exploration can be daunting at times, especially when a lot of the planets you visit can be a bit tricky to navigate. You have pretty easy ones like Timberhearth and its moon, before things take a turn with Dark Bramble and Giant's Deep. Each have their own mechanics and their own quirks to master. But don't worry, if you screw up and fly into the sun, which I have done multiple times, you simply restart the loop and try again. Time is a major component of Outer Wilds. It's tied into everything you do, not just with the limit of only having 22 minutes to accomplish whatever you're trying to do, but the solar system changes as time progresses. The sun slowly enlarges and changes color as it approaches its end. Some planets fall apart. Their features change, allowing or restricting access to certain locations. Time is a tool, just like your ship or jetpack, but there's rarely a pressing need to be concerned by it. If you die, the loop just resets, and it's only usually a short trip back to where you just came from. I want to talk about the music in Outer Wilds. It's a part of the game in a way that's really rare to see in most video games. It sets the tone, sure, changing to reflect what's happening on your screen, but it can also be a way to navigate, with several of your companions using a song to direct you to their location, ensuring that you are never completely lost. The music also plays at the end of each loop, letting you know that the sun is about to go supernova, so you should clue up whatever you're working on, since you're about to be sent back in time. There is an issue with the sound, namely the fact that there's no spoken dialogue in the game. There's a lot of reading, particularly the text and lore bits, that you will find scattered around, but nothing is voiced. Speaking of the lore bits, your ship contains one thing, aside from you yourself, that goes back with you through each loop. You have an information codex that contains all the hints and lore bits you picked up throughout your exploration. This is always with you, regardless of how many loops you have gone through. You can organize it in two ways: by location, where each planet or celestial object has information detailed about it, or rumors, which is like in-game hints. It lets you know if there's more to find in a particular location, if you found all the lore on a planet. It also varies the size of the icons, informing you when there's something is much more important to the overall mystery than another object. For example, the Quantum Moon. Again, no spoilers, but the moon has a large icon with lots of branches highlighting its importance. Each time you pick up a lore tidbit that's tied to it, new lines branch off from the main part. But the codex rarely outright tells you what to do. There are some puzzles that you need to piece together from multiple entries, from references across the entire solar system. And even then, it can take a little bit of creative problem solving. You may get stuck during your playthrough, having explored everything and not having an idea what the hell you're supposed to do. That's expected, and there are times I think Outer Wilds could have possibly gave you a harder nudge in certain directions. There are also locations that, aside from the lore, are not necessary to visit at all, which I think may be a missed opportunity. I like the lore a lot, but sometimes you get an answer to a question you already had a fairly good idea of. Visiting a location may just outright give you the answer. I think Outer Wilds is one of the best games to come out in the last few years. Its concept of a time loop, the execution of its solar system, the way it makes you want to explore in search of answers is a powerful motivator. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty damn close. And I recommend everyone giving it a shot at least once. But unfortunately, I can't recommend the physical copy of the Archaeologist Edition on the PlayStation 5. Sure, you can email the publishers and they might send you the code, but I think that defeats the purpose of having a physical copy in the first place. If you've already played Outer Wilds, there's no real reason to revisit it here. If you liked the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm the Casual Console Gamer, and I'll see you all in the next review.